Hi guys, welcome back to the Max Spence Business Podcast. Today I have a very special guest. His name is Steve Cody. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's the founder and CEO of Better Software and also Ruckify. It's great having you on the show, Cody. Steve, sorry.
Thanks very much, Max.
Yeah,
Glad to be
awesome.
on.
So why don't we jump right into this? Why don't we start with an intro about, maybe for the people that don't know who you are, why don't we start with an intro?
Yeah, sure. Basically lifelong entrepreneur. Started, right out of left high school in grade 10, very dyslexic. My grandfather had saved $10 a month, put in the bank so that I could go to university. By the time I was in grade 10, kind of knew school wasn't going to be for me. So I asked him if I could take what was then $1,200 and start a window cleaning company. So basically that allowed me to buy a bucket, a squeegee, a ladder, and start a window cleaning company. And, started cleaning windows at homes and then buildings. And then we got into different rental companies and I think 6 different rental businesses that we kind of built and sold along the way. So that's kind of just been building and kind of selling businesses as I go.
Okay.
Yeah. So currently, co-founder of Ruckify, Better Software. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
Okay. Awesome. Oh yeah. Because I had Bruce Lynch on the podcast as well, an amazing guy. And I was very thankful that he gave me some of his time so I could interview him about stuff. And thank you for, you as well for coming on the podcast. So yeah, I was actually just watching a couple of videos beforehand and how, I don't know if this is right, but the video I was watching for the Ruckify company, it was something happened with the tree went down and then you guys couldn't find a chainsaw. So that sort of sparked the idea of like, hey, well, there's got to be a way to get a chainsaw from somebody in this area.
Exactly. Yeah, that's literally, Bruce has been my neighbor. We've been neighbors for, 15, 16 years. It was probably like 5 years ago. The storm came through the neighborhood, big storm, bunch of trees fell, big one out front of the house. And Bruce, he's known in the neighborhood, like he loves cutting trees. So, like as soon as the storm was gone, he's out there cutting a big tree that had fallen out front of the house. And I kind of went out and he said, I'm sorry, but I can't get the stump. The blade's not big enough. And, we just started thinking, I'm sure somebody around here's got a bigger chainsaw. We don't have to go either buy a new chainsaw, which is not good, or go to Home Depot, stand in line and, all that craziness to rent a chainsaw. So we thought there's probably a better way to do this. And that's when we started thinking about Ruckify. I was building a company called Better Software. He was starting to build, I think then it was Tweed, which turned into Canopy Growth. So we're both very busy. So it wasn't until 3 years ago that we really had time to get going on Ruckify.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I actually love the idea of Ruckify. And now that it's like sort of come out, it's like sort of like, it's like, yeah, that sort of seems so obvious, that like, hey, well, why isn't this being created before? But it's just one of those things that it's like when you first created it, it was like, there was nothing really in the market. So I find it amazing.
Yeah.
So I sort of want to jump back now to sort of, when you were growing up, you said that you didn't go to university and all that sort of stuff. So what made you go down the entrepreneur route and, start that window cleaning company, instead of, going to, maybe working at a job in a business or something?
I grew up with a single mom and my mother, she cleaned houses. She worked for herself. She was a house cleaner and I'd go to work with her if I wasn't at school. So, kind of the only way of life that I really understood is you kind of went out and made your own money. So I at that point, I really didn't look at it as like an entrepreneurial journey or anything like that. It was just, school's not for me. I want to move out and I'm going to start, just making a living. And that's the way it kind of started. And then it snowballed from there.
Oh, okay, awesome. So how did you actually find, like right now you're a very seasoned entrepreneur, but at that sort of beginning, what was that sort of like going into that? Like, do you think you were sort of naturally sort of like you had some good natural attributes that helped you for entrepreneurship, or did you have to do a lot of learning and a lot of stuff to build a, that sort of, that tool belt to be able to run a business?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we still learn every day. So you're always learning. But I mean, what do you really need to know to start a business is, probably the most important thing is if you have nothing to fall back on, you kind of have no choice. And when you have no choice, you're probably going to work really hard. And if you work really hard, probably good things are going to happen. And that was really, you didn't need to know about fundraising, or you didn't, even hiring people at that, I only had to hire somebody when I found out I was scared of heights. So starting a window cleaning business and being scared of heights is not a really good thing. So, so that forced me to hire somebody. So now you're learning how to hire people, and yeah. So, yeah, I think I learn as much today as I learned back then. And there's no question, the more you learn, the easier it is, I think. So you probably make less mistakes. Maybe your mistakes get bigger over time. I don't know, but it's entrepreneurship. So, we're kind of in the business of solving problems, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I actually want to ask you a question about that. So, like, what's sort of your process for solving problems? Like, how do you approach problems in business, and how do you sort of go about solving them? I know there's going to be a lot of different problems with different things, but what are some like core things that you sort of like approach every problem with?
Well, you don't want to. You got to be careful. You don't react to problems. You want to manage problems. And you kind of want to, like, what do you want the end result to be? And the end result doesn't necessarily have to be the first step. So you're going to manage it, however it's going to be. So it could be a problem with a person. Maybe you want to make them better. You can't just walk up to them and say, I need you to be better. You're going to kind of work through it, and you're going to, come up with a plan, and you're going to do it over time. Or if you have a cash problem, you can't solve it immediately. You got to kind of sit back and, how am I going to manage this? Like, how many people am I going to call? What are my options? That kind of thing. So I think it's a big realization. I think entrepreneurship is, number one, is to really accept that you are a problem solver. Like, that's what you're doing, and you're going to be presented with problems all day long, and you can't get discouraged by that. You have to kind of embrace it and enjoy it. And I think that's otherwise it's going to stress you out, and it's not going to be good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that a lot. So, I want to actually ask you about. So, you brought it up there a second. Is like you're pretty much a problem solver. When you were going in, like you sort of said that you didn't really have any other choice. It was either you had to go out and you sort of had to be successful or to make money to sort of survive, right? So once you had your first couple businesses, was it sort of like at that point where it was like, did you ever think about going back to, well, not going back, but going to a company, or was it still like you still wanted, you just loved running your own company and building your own sort of team and environment, that it was just like you loved it more than anything else?
Yeah, we sold one company when I was 30 years old. So it was our lift equipment business. So booms, scissor lifts. We sold it to a company called Hertz, which was owned by the Ford Motor Company back then. So they were based out of New York, and sold it to them. Sold that company literally on my 30th birthday. So my goal was to be a millionaire by the time I was 30. So literally made it happen on my 30th birthday. And part of the deal there was I would work for them for 2 years. And I was, excited to do that because I'd really never worked for anybody. This was a big company, and I could learn so much. And at that, and I'd been presented job offers from other companies in the same space. So I think it was like probably about 3 months in working as an employee. I didn't like it, and I think a big part of it was I didn't understand politics in a business. So I didn't, like all this kind of stuff that happens behind the scene, and this person's trying to hold you back, or I don't know, just a lot of weird stuff that, maybe if you're a CEO or you're the founder, like you're a part of that. Yeah, I found like I couldn't contribute the way I feel I should be able to contribute. So I ended up writing them. I think maybe it was an email or whatever it was at the time. I don't, a fax. Sent them a fax, and told them this was not for me. And I'd suggested another manager suggested a transition plan, but yeah, that was like 3 months was good for me.
Oh,
I'd
okay.
rather
Okay.
work for
Awesome.
my
Awesome.
customer. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're always working for somebody. So,
Yeah.
you're working for your team, you're working for your investors, you're working for your customers. Uh, that, that part I like, no question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I find it really interesting because a lot of people like that, like I would say you're like a born entrepreneur, starting at such a young age and then just never really going into the venture of like, employment or something like that. So people such as yourself, usually because they want to do more, they want to approach it in their own way. They sort of tend to want to, start their own thing. I wanted to ask you about, so how do you approach, work culture and creating a good team and creating like a good environment where people are motivated to come into work? They want to, knock it out of the park and, bring the company up all together.
Yeah, I think probably three really important things. So I think it'll start with, who do you hire? So a big thing is, especially when you're starting a company, I think as the company matures, the needs are a little bit different. But when you're starting, when we started Ruckify, I spent months at Starbucks and I'd probably have 5 or 8 coffees a day with people and just meeting people. And looking for three qualities. So, you look like you're a good person. That was kind of important. Are you relatively smart? Don't need to be genius, but you appear to be smart. And then the third thing is, are you curious? Are you asking a lot of questions? Because especially with Ruckify, we're in a tech business. We're doing something that somebody's never done before. So we need to make sure that whoever's on that team is going to be curious. So that's kind of number one is, make sure you're hiring. I think kind of come up with that profile that's good for you. And I think it's different for many, many different companies. And then the second thing is be very transparent with people, because I think the more people know, just they tend to get more invested. So there's no secrets or anything. So if you're low on money, or you're going to be doing an IPO or whatever it is, you're telling the people, whoever's working with you knows that. You're being honest. And if you can't tell them, you tell them, I can't tell you. So you be very honest with them. So I think that's important. And the third thing is make them an owner. So like there's not a lot of fun in kind of building something and then making a bunch of money and being the only one at the top of the hill with all this money. So I think it's really important, with Ruckify, better software, 10% of the company, we literally give to the employees. So, we want everybody to have a life-changing event. We want everybody to do really well. So I think that's important.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. That's very interesting, and I like how you approach it. So, like, the first one is sort of figure. So you want to find them to be a good person, be curious, interested, and then the second one is sort of be trusting, and then the third one would be, um, so like they're invested with the company, and that's what I've heard a lot from other people I've sort of interviewed, and also podcasts I've listened to, is like it's very hard, like if you're an employee, and this is sort of my thought process, it's really hard to work your tail off for a company that you have no sort of ownership with or anything with it, right? So it sort of seems like I'm doing all this work, but I'm not bettering nothing. The company is not going to affect me at all if I better it at all or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Why should they? Right? Why would you? Why would you put everything you have into something if the company's not being fair and giving you something in return? So we're big on that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to jump now to, in entrepreneurship, people say that, entrepreneurs take a lot of risk. And I've also heard from other like actual entrepreneurs and stuff that entrepreneurs are very risk adverse. They're just very good at calculating the risk they're very good at risk management. So I want to know how do you approach to like when you were maybe first starting out, it was probably a lot more risky to sort of jump between different businesses. So how did you sort of manage that before you went and decided, say, hey, I'm going to actually jump into this new marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, you know, everything in life has risk. I'd be scared as hell to go work for somebody else. Why would I want to put my future in somebody else's hands? I look at people like, putting all this money into a stock markets and putting their, like, why wouldn't you invest in yourself and believe in yourself? So I think there's less risk in being an entrepreneur because you control your destiny. I can wake up in the morning and I can choose whether I'm going to give it 100% that day or I'm going to give it 10%. If I give it 100%, good things are going to happen. If I give it 10%, and if I do that for too many days, probably not good things are going to happen. So I think it's if you're prepared to work hard and you don't give up easily, because I think a lot of people give up a little too quickly. They'll give up a little too easily. When you start a business, it's never a straight line. It's never the way you think it's going to go. So you need to be able to kind of adjust on a daily or weekly basis. And the newer the business, you're adjusting on a almost minute by minute basis. Then it's an hour basis. Then it's day by day. So that, starts to extend itself in terms of, how many times you're kind of pivoting. But I don't know. There's always an opportunity to succeed in anything you want to try. So, you just got to make it happen. So yeah, I personally don't think I think other people take a lot more risk than I do.
Oh, okay. So you, like when you were doing all this entrepreneurship and starting these companies, were you like very fearful at all, or did you have any like fear, or was it more like you were confident in yourself that, hey, you know what, I'm going to give it 110%, and if it works, it works, and as long as I know I'm giving it everything I got, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't, and I'll just move on and start a new thing. Is that sort of your approach to it, or?
Yeah. I would call it like maybe total excitement. So very, very excited, very energized. Not sitting there thinking that I'm, a genius or anything, and that I can figure this out better than anybody else, because I think we all just kind of have to figure it out. But I think just confident in the fact that eventually I would figure it out. So, or if I'm not figuring it out, at least I'm going to hire people that can figure it out. So window cleaning, I can't get used to heights. So, I'm going to bring people onto the team that love heights. You know what I mean? So that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. So you pretty much, like, with your weaknesses, you surrounded yourself with good people to sort of bring that up. Yeah, that actually leads into another question I have, is sort of what this is probably changing all the time, but when did you realize that, like, what things you were really good at? So like when did you sort of realize that, hey, I'm actually really good at marketing, I'm really good at people, like people management, either the number side of things, like, well, what did you sort of find that you were really naturally good at and enjoyed?
Uh, you know, Probably good at creating things, I think would be, so just coming up maybe with ideas, um, spending a lot of time trying to learn whatever I'm trying to do. So we've done auto detailing, we've done Monster Halloween, Cody. So we've done a lot of different things over my career, and a lot of new things and things that I knew like absolutely nothing about. And I whether I'm good at it or not, I really love to just, I'll give you an example. My wife was always mad because our car was dirty. And for me, I never had time to take the car and bring it to the auto detailing shop, have somebody pick me up. And then, to me, that was like huge waste of time. So anyways, one day we were having a barbecue and she's like, well, when are you going to get the car cleaned? And I thought, you know what, forget it. I'm going to start a mobile auto detailing business. Knew absolutely nothing about it. But so then what I did literally next day is I put an ad online looking for, it was on Kijiji, looking for somebody with a whole bunch of auto detailing experience. Met a guy named Steve, same name as mine. And he had been an auto detailer, and we started Cody Mobile, and it's an awesome business. And the van comes right to your house. cleans your car. So car's always clean now. Solved the problem. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. I was your wife is like, when are you gonna get the car clean? Well, I'll just create a company to solve the problem. So
It
I
worked.
guess like that's like, has your brain always sort of worked like that? Like, there was, I don't know, when you just looked at something, you were just like, there's a better way to do that, or there's a more efficient way to do that, or why aren't we doing it like this? This is much like, has your brain always sort of worked like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at Ruckify, right? That was, there's got to be a better way here to get a bigger chainsaw. So now we've created a monster. It was the same thing. Better software. We were running our different businesses, and we could never find good software that would help us run our businesses. So, I knew nothing about software. So I hired a guy who knew something about software, and he built a software program for us. So, so that was kind of many of the different things we've done. I mean, I'm Cody Party, so it's been in Ottawa 21 years. We're right across Canada. I started that because my mom was getting married, and I went to a party store to get balloons, and then I went to a rental warehouse to rent chairs and tables, and I thought, like, what an awful experience. And I had to go to 2 different locations, and that's kind of the way the industry was. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to start my own party rental company. And that's, we've been at it for 21 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So like you must get like
So
on
it's
a
not like
pardon me?
it's not like there's not a lot of market research that happens, or it's really just trying to look for a problem, and it's a problem that I have, and, will other people pay to have the same problem solved? And, you kind of go from there.
Yeah. So I actually wanted to ask you about that, because like probably on a daily or weekly basis, you must be getting bombarded with like how your brain works and sort of people coming to you with opportunities and ideas. So how do you sort of approach that to say, like, what's a good idea that you're going to execute on, and what's an idea that, what we're actually we're not interested in?
So do you mean internally for the company as we're building the company? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, well, actually, yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually a good point as well. But I was more speaking like for you personally, for you to take on a new project, but also with the company as well. That's actually very interesting. Was like to acquiring more, other companies to add to sort of, add to the strength of the company.
Yeah, like I think there's kind of an interesting lesson that I've learned is, when you're building a company, uh, you typically start with, you hire generalists, so people that can kind of do a whole bunch of things and are pretty good at it. And then when you're doing that, you're kind of building a company based on intuition, which I think is a really good idea. Actually, I don't think you should listen to other people. You should observe, but you should kind of do it your own way, because otherwise you're just going to be the same as everybody else. So when we start a company, we'll never hire somebody with experience in that industry. We want to figure it out on our own. So that's kind of phase one of building a company. And then as your company starts to mature, and you start to have product market fit, then you're going to kind of transition from generalists to what I would call specialists. And when you start having specialists and you start having kind of DNA within your team, that understand the business, and you start having customers that are using the product, then you're able to use what we call as design thinking. So then we put together innovation teams, and then we totally review everything we've ever done. We break it down into little chunks. You review it, and then you make it better. But you're making it better. Now you're taking away intuition, and you've presented what you thought was good to your customers, and your team sees it. And now you can kind of leverage all that, and you can make it better through what we call as design thinking. And design thinking is really, nobody owns that process. It's very inclusive, with a bunch of people. And it's amazing what you kind of get out at the end of the day. So that's the second iteration of a company in terms of how, so if somebody would come to me yesterday, we had somebody, our claim resolution process. So if somebody breaks something on Ruckify, how do we resolve? Like, what's the process? Like, how do we react to that? And how do we make everybody happy? So we went through yesterday. So we said, you know what, let's throw it into a design thinking process. So it'll be a team of 5 people. They're going to spend a month. They're going to do all this research, get all this data. And at the end of it, we're going to have an awesome kind of claims resolution process. So a little bit off of what you were saying, but I think it's important, especially when you're starting a business, is you have to be intuitive, because if you listen to everybody else in terms of how do you make something or how do you do something, it's going to be the same as, or there's going to be nothing special about it, I don't think. So anyways, that's kind of the way we've operated.
Oh, okay, awesome. So actually, that leads to something else really interesting. I just had it on the top of my head there, but I think it just went. It was just about. Okay. Anyway, it'll come back to me. So I want to sort of jump now to, you'd start a company, you get to a certain point. When did you sort of decide to make an exit from a company? Like how do you sort of do that, and so how do you approach that?
Different for. I can give you a couple of examples. Our window washing one, it was largest in Ottawa. I think we had 40 window washers. I was driving down a road one day, saw a big building for sale, and I thought, okay, well, that could be interesting to buy that, and we could start, a scaffolding rental business. So I put an offer in on it. We got it, but we had no money. So to buy the building, I had to sell the window cleaning company. So that was kind of, and that worked out. The window cleaning company, they're still largest in Ottawa. So it's been 2 different owners since we started it. But so that was kind of one reason to sell. When I sold the lift business to Hertz, part of it was my goal was to be a millionaire by the time I was 30. So that was kind of a nice way to make that happen. So sold and the company was operating quite well, and it was actually, I was 30 years old back then. We had $6 million in debt, where our profit was about $1 million a year, and the business was actually boring. So I wasn't getting any enjoyment out of it because I couldn't borrow any more money. So I couldn't, the business was great, but I wasn't really in it for the money. I was in it to create something. So anyway, so those were kind of the reasons.
Okay.
When I think about why did we sell Monster Halloween, so our Halloween company, well, our son passed away, and I couldn't function or operate the business, so I had to sell it. So many different reasons, I think, for why would you sell a business?
Oh, okay. Yeah. That sort of makes sense. It's very different to every sort of situation, and sort of it's.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
understandable.
I've never started a business with the intention of selling the business. That's never, with Ruckify, we have zero, and we're going to go public with it. So we have zero intentions of selling it. Same with Better Software, but who knows, right? Things happen.
True. So I wanted to. So you've gone into a lot of different markets and done a lot of different stuff. And so how have you sort of learned how to do all that? Is it through like, well, you said you were dyslexic, so reading would probably be a challenge to sort of consume information through reading. So how have you sort of learned this all? Is it just through like actually doing it, and also learning it from people or mentors or something like that? Did you have any mentors in your sort of time growing up?
Yeah, two good mentors, and I'd call Bruce a mentor right now. We're partners, but he's a mentor. I've got a lot to learn from him. When we started the party rental business, I'll give you an example. I knew nothing about the party rental business. So what I did is we drove to Toronto and Montreal and found party rental companies, and I would go in the back door and I would just talk to employees. I got kicked out of a couple of them, but that's kind of just talking to them and, like, tell me about the dishwasher. Like, what do I need to know about a dishwasher? Like, how do I clean all these dishes? How do I clean linen? How do you rent tents? So just asking like a lot of questions. And that's really, really how we learned. Auto detailing, knew nothing about it. Still don't know anything about it. I hired somebody, I trusted him, and he made it all happen. Really nothing. So it wasn't myself. Better software. We understand what companies need to be successful in terms of process and all that, but I have no clue how to build software. So, we have great people that can make that happen. So,
Yeah.
it's either kind of asking a lot of questions and learning, or
Pardon me?
bringing on people that already know at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, and that's what I find really awesome is that, because maybe somebody at my age or older or something is like I know for my thought process anyway is that I like if I want to approach something, I want to learn all I can about it. Um, and I mean that's not like you should learn about it, but it seems like you can also just hire, and you've been very successful just by trusting and hiring somebody how to do it. And also I really love that how you're getting knowledge of the party rental one was going into other stores and asking the employees questions about it, which is amazing.
Yeah. My wife was getting pretty mad at me because I was getting, anyways, sometimes it doesn't go so well when you go in the back door.
So I sort of want to. I know we're coming to the end here. So I want to sort of talk about like. I know at my sort of age, a lot of people are wanting to start businesses, and a lot of people are chasing the money sort of association with running your own business. And I sort of want to talk to you about. So what does happiness mean to you, and what is like in life, you're I'm guessing you're probably in mid 50s, early 50s or something. And you've had a lot of life experience in business and other areas as such. So what to you, what does sort of happiness mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. I think a lot of people need to ask themselves that early on, because I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to start my own business. Well, what does that mean? Like, what do you want out of it? Some people think, well, I want to be really rich. Okay. I want to have a company the size of Facebook or Shopify. Okay, but and those are really good things to identify early on. Or I just want a bit of freedom. Like, I don't want to work as much. And I think once you kind of have that figured out, then you know how hard you're going to work. So if you want something big, you're going to have to sell your soul to it. Forget your Friday nights, forget your Saturdays and Sunday. You know what I mean? So I think that's really important. Um, I don't know. I see people motivated by money. I think it drives bad characteristics. Doesn't mean they're not going to be successful. And for them, I think that is success, is to have money. Definitely not important to myself. What I really enjoy is, what's really cool is, I was back at one of our old companies. Bruce and I were there, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and I hadn't been back there for about 20 years. And I had met somebody. I had taken some night classes out of Algonquin because I knew nothing about marketing. And I said, I'll take some night classes. I didn't do the exams or anything. I just wanted to kind of listen and learn. And when I was in there, I met this guy named Rob, and he had a real sparkle in his eye. And I said, what do you do? He said, I stock shelves at some grocery store. I said, I think you'd be really good in sales. Anyways, he came work for us, and now he's managing the branch. He's where the company we used to own, probably making, I don't know, 200,000 a year. And he seems really happy. And I hadn't seen him in over 20 years. And that's like a really good feeling, is when you meet people, and you put them in a position where they probably did more than they ever expected they could do. And I don't know, like, to me, that's really, really rewarding. And when you build something, and we went up to Tremblant. We were four-wheeling a couple of weekends ago, Bruce and I. And one of the guys that was bringing us on the tour had a Cody window cleaning sweater on. And I said, hey, that used to be my company. That's pretty cool. So that was cool. So you've created something that is helping other people. So, yeah. So, there's a lot of things, I think, that I would consider success. Money is not one of them.
Yeah. I like that. And I asked Bruce sort of the same question. And I try and ask a lot of different entrepreneurs the same question. It's actually funny. You and Bruce sort of had the exact same answer to that question.
Really?
Yeah.
Ask. So you could almost ask Bruce what car he drives. So he drives probably, I think it's a 2008 station wagon. Like I don't even know if it has electronic windows. I think he's got to roll them down. I've got a 2010 Kia with almost 300,000 kilometers. So I think, sometimes what you drive can say a lot about, whatever matters to you, I guess. So
Yeah,
they're not fancy
yeah.
cars.
I actually find that really interesting because I've had another conversation with another guy, and he was saying in real estate, and he knew this guy who owned a lot of real estate, and he drove, he just drove like, the guy is like, he could easily be driving if he wanted to, a nice Mercedes or something like that, and you guys could probably be driving a nice Mercedes as well, but he was just driving a Ford Focus, and because it wasn't about the money to him, it was just about creating something that wasn't there before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So actually, quickly, I just from that conversation, I actually just had two more points. I want to sort of, if you have the time, or are you good for time right now?
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
So I want to sort of ask you, because you must be insanely busy. How do you manage your time? How do you approach time management?
You know what? I mean, there's a lot of routine. So I get up early, spend about 2 hours just kind of not talking to anybody, kind of catching up on what I need to catch up on, and relaxing. Um, if I'm feeling stressed or anxious, I'll make sure I set, if I'm doing calls, especially a lot of calls I just listen in on. So, we have team calls. So I just want to listen in to see what's happening. I'll try to book those around a walk. So I'll walk 10 or 15 or 20 kilometers, a couple hours. So I think that's quite helpful. Yeah, other than that, I think as a company starts to mature, you need to spend more time thinking. I think that's really important. And you end up having a good team around you. So, and you have to just be ready to fight fires. Like there's big fires that come at you all the time, but they're not always coming at you. But you need to give yourself that bandwidth. So when those big problems come along, you've got bandwidth to really, we talked about it earlier, managing the problem instead of reacting to the problem. And I think there's a big difference in the outcome. So,
Oh, okay.
That's kind of, yeah. So
Okay.
I wouldn't say like I'm insanely busy every day. When I go to bed, I don't lose sleep because I have problems. I lose sleep because I'm too excited about getting up in the morning. So, that's my problem.
That's not a bad problem to have at all.
Yeah. Well, it is when you can't sleep because you get too excited about the next day. Yeah.
Yeah. So so I actually want to. So with that time management, like, did you like? Because I know, like, in the day and age right now, it's like you have your phone, you have your laptop, it's just 24/7. You can just keep going, and it's like go, 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 go. Do you actually pretty much block out time to sort of let your brain sort of like recover a bit or anything like that? Or do you spend like maybe a Saturday or a Sunday just like sort of relaxing and letting your brain sort of just like recoup from like the last week, sort of like all the stuff you sort of done?
Yeah, if it was up to me, I'd probably be on my phone 24/7, and I wouldn't unplug. It's my wife that reminds me to unplug, and I'll do that by going for a walk or if I go for a drive. So sometimes if I've got a problem to solve, and you do have to unplug to solve some problems. I'll drive to Kingston or I'll drive wherever, and just drive there and come back, and so you are totally disconnected, and your brain has time to think, because that there is a reality. I think if you're always on your device, you're always on your emails, like you're not giving yourself thinking time, and it's
Yeah.
important to have that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I think I was watching a YouTube video or a podcast about it, and it was talking about Jeff Bezos, and how he sort of managed his time, and he spent a lot of his time, like you were saying, was actually the thinking and having those critical decisions, which are the most important to move the business forward. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. But when you're starting out, I don't think you can sell us, it's just go, go, go. Like you're pivoting, everything's changing. your team isn't stable yet, so these things can happen, I think, as your business matures a little bit.
Oh, okay. Okay. Awesome. And the last thing I wanted to ask you quickly is, I saw one of the videos was you talking about the rental market and what really fascinated about you. What really fascinated it about, for you anyway, was that you could buy something and then you sort of rent it out and create money off of it. I wanted to know, like, do you invest into real estate yourself, or have you sort of gone down that avenue at all, or are you more just loving it? Like, do you just like business more and like creating different things?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big like a Ruckify weekend warrior. So what I tend to do is I'll buy things on Facebook Marketplace, especially towards the end of the month, because you tend to, people are clearing stuff out, or maybe they need money to pay rent. So I'll buy a jackhammer, a tamper, telescope, canoe, whatever it is. I end up kind of accumulating these things, and then I Ruckify them. So and I mean, I like doing it. It's pretty cool to, you buy something and you can probably rent it for 2 or 3 years and then sell it for the same amount of money. Right. So, yeah, I mean, I had a lady, Robin, she lives in a town, I forget the name of the town, but there's 30,000 people. And she was telling me her husband lost his business because of COVID. She got on Ruckify, and she made over $10,000 in her first 90 days on Ruckify. And she said, had it not been for Ruckify, she thinks they would have lost their house. And then I'm like, I said, well, that's awesome, Robin. Like, how much did you have to spend, right? Like, how much did you have to actually invest to make the 10 grand? And she said, all I had to do, I bought one extra support, but everything else was stuff that I had in the basement or in the garage. And she rented it out and turned it into money. So,
Wow.
it's how many other businesses in the world can you start for free and literally not have to invest any money? And not only are you making money, but you're saving the planet, right? So now you're saving somebody from having to go buy that chainsaw, right? Because you're renting it out. So I don't know. It's like we really really love what we do. It's just it's good for the planet, and we're helping a lot of people.
Yeah, I really love the idea. And one of my friends is actually on Ruckify. He has his dad and his family, they have like a lot of like tools and stuff. So he's
Yeah,
renting
yeah.
his tools out on Ruckify. And he was saying
Awesome.
yesterday he got actually one of his first rentals. I think it was like for $20 for one of the tools or something. And he was really excited because it was
Yeah,
like,
that's great. You know what? And we have some people at work. It's really cool. We have some people at work that make more money Ruckifying than they do working, that's kind of good and bad because we don't want to lose them, but good that they're making that money. But then we have some other people, they might have a camera or whatever it is, and they just want to they kind of count on that extra $200 or $300 a month, right? And it's coming at them consistently, but they're on a fixed income, and that kind of helps pay a couple extra bills. So yeah, it's awesome. Good
yeah,
to hear about your friend. Yeah.
pardon me?
I said, good to hear about your friend. That's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
cool.
he's absolutely loving this. He loves it. Because I told him, because like when I was talking to Bruce and I sort of looked into people that I could interview, such as yourself, I came across Ruckify, and I was telling him about it because he was saying that sort of during COVID and stuff, and it was hard for him to sort of find work. And
Yeah.
then he was like, but I have all these, like, I got all these tools and this other stuff. And I was like, why don't you rent it out on Ruckify? And he's like, all right, yeah. And then like a couple weeks later, he took pictures, put it all up, and now he's starting to get like actually income from it, which is amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. Didn't cost them anything. Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, I know we're coming to the end here. Thank you very much for your time, Steve. It's been amazing chatting with you and sort of picking your brain on different things and different ideas. Where can actually people find out, maybe more about you, more about Ruckify, the better software company, or anything else that you have going on in the works?
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn is a great place. If you want to reach out, just go to LinkedIn, Steve Cody, so Cody. If you want to start to Ruckify, just go to ruckify.com. We have live chat going all the time, so you can go to the bottom right-hand corner and they'll help you. Better software, it's the bettersoftwarecompany.com. It's really, we service the franchise industry, so it's a light ERP for the franchise industry and the rental industry. So yeah. So
Okay, awesome. Well,
Okay,
Thank you again for coming on the show.
Thanks, Max. Great job. Have a great day.